Hey guys, this is Dan at yourpbfriend.com. We have here the new Empire Vanquish 2. We're gonna do some test videos and comparison videos today to find out if this really is the latest, greatest gun in paintball, or if it's just the Vanquish 1 rebranded.
So here to start, the Vanquish 2 came out. The first thing to point out is the new driver barrel system. It's a 14-inch barrel. It has a 7.5-inch control bore. It comes in sizes 682, 688, 682, 685, 688, and 691. It has the perfect length for a barrel, 7.5 inches. The tip itself also has a lot of honing to it and a lot of ports that are really big. It makes this gun actually really quiet with a stock barrel. I really don't think you need to upgrade from it. With a very nice finish and the perfect length and the whole backs, you really can't go wrong. Another thing that they did on the Vanquish 2 is it has a new trigger. Some people were feeling like the old Vanquish style trigger was a little bit sluggish. So they made this new roller bearing 4-way adjustable trigger so that it can be more snappy on the gun. It's actually really nice with just a little bit of work. You can actually make this thing just suit your needs and feel very comfortable and very fast and quick. Another thing that they did on the gun is they actually changed the eye system. Now the eye system, rather than some boards, it's actually kind of 2 different eye wires, kind of like the Planet Eclipse style, except it's 2 short wires that plug into the eye board down below. That makes it so that it's easier to clean and that it's actually going to work better than the previous ones did with paint and other problems. On the inside, there's no longer an harness connected to the bottom of the frame, the battery harness. I'll show you that real quickly. But there's no longer a battery harness because the gun splits in half, and when the gun pivots, what would happen is the eye harness would actually, or the battery harness would actually pull out from the top board. So with these ones, it's actually connected to the bottom and 2 little pins touch the top. Another thing you'll see on this bolt assembly is they actually changed the way that the bolt vents. On the previous Vanquish, the bolt venting would be into atmosphere with no restriction at all. If you see around this, on the back cap, this actually is where the bolt vents when it returns, and so it actually slows the bolt venting down. It's only about a 1 to 2 millisecond difference, but that actually does make a little bit of difference. Another thing that they did with the new Vanquish is they did this back cap removal. It's adjusted, or it's activated by a little pin down here. So you have to push it in to pull it out and then push it in to put it back in. You can see, and it fits right in this groove. That is much easier and nicer than the original one where you had to kind of crank it and twist it. And when your hands were covered with paint, it was just a really big pain. So there you go, slides right out and slides right in. Another thing they did is they redesigned the body. Some people don't like it. I actually think it looks much better in person, and I've become quite fond of it. Some of the advantages that does is they've added more weight to the front of the gun. This has actually made the shot quite a bit smoother. So when you have more weight on the front, when the kick of the gun shooting, you're gonna get less barrel rise and so less kick. It also makes it easier to clean. The eye cover area doesn't stick out on the gun anymore, which kind of looked funky personally for me when you're looking straight down the edge of the gun. Another thing that they did on the new Vanquish 2 is they've actually made the speaker in it better. You can hear right here. So now that we just finished talking a little bit about the Vanquish 2, let's go on and get into the dirty tech talk between the Vanquish 2 and the Luxe OLED, or the Luxe 2.0 system. So with this platform of spool valve guns, it is really based off of how slow can the bolt move forward and back. A cycle time of the gun, when we refer to cycle time, it means the whole system from when the board tells the solenoid to fire to allow air to make the bolt move, when it allows the air to release, and then it puts the bolt back at rest. That's the complete cycle time. The Luxe has always been, well, since it came out, pretty much the smoothest shooting gun on the market. The reason for this is the very slow cycle time of the gun. The gun has a cycle time of a Luxe with a 2.0 core of about 39 to 41 milliseconds total from the time that it moves forward to the time it moves back. Well, from the time that the noid activates and moves forward and back. The Vanquish 2 has a time of about 45 milliseconds when using 18 dwell, the stock dwell on both guns. It has about 45 milliseconds from the time it moves forward and back. So right there, the Vanquish is actually a little bit slower. The slow speeds on the cycle time is what makes the gun have the very smooth shot and be very soft at paint, because it's literally slowly pushing the ball forward, allowing the air to shoot, and then pushing the bolt back very slowly. Now, on these two guns, there is a difference. The cycle time, as you see, is about 4 to 6 milliseconds slower for the Vanquish. The Vanquish-noid is a direct acting solenoid. What this means is a direct acting solenoid usually responds quicker to the command from the board to fire. It's normally about 3 to 6 milliseconds from the command of the board telling the solenoid to fire when the bolt actually starts moving forward. So if you're gonna say 6 milliseconds and it's 45 millisecond cycle time, it's actually going to be a 39 milliseconds of the bolt moving forward and back, so very slow. A Luxe has used a couple different solenoids, but they are all indirect acting solenoids. What this means is the solenoid actually takes a little longer to register that shot before it starts making the bolt move. It's an average an 8 to 11 millisecond cycle time from the time the board says, all right, now fire. So 8 to 11 seconds it starts moving. So if you take that, let's say we're gonna take 11 milliseconds and the bolt cycles 41 milliseconds, you're getting about a 30 millisecond cycle time from the time the bolt starts moving forward to back on the Luxe, and you're going to be having about a 39 millisecond cycle time on the Vanquish of the bolt moving forward and back. This actually makes the gun smoother, or smoother and softer on paint. So the Vanquish 2, in the theory, should be softer on paint than the Luxe is, and smoother. Now, something to point out, with the Vanquish 2, you're not gonna have a lot of tuning to do. It's not necessarily a tuner's gun. You don't have a feather touch screw, and you don't have any way of adjusting the way the solenoid vents. It's preset for you. With the Luxe, you do have more customization with the feather touch screw and all these little options, so you can play with the Luxe a lot. But what we did find with the comparison of the video is the Vanquish 2, a stock Vanquish 2 and a stock Luxe. We actually shot one of these carbon fiber OLEDs. The Vanquish 2 was smoother and quieter. The Vanquish 2 ended up being smoother than the previous Vanquish and quieter than that one too. All right, we're gonna take apart this Vanquish 2 and just show you some of the new features. We're gonna start with the eyes. The new eye covers are actually really nice because they are recessed in. This is the new style detent on there. Really nice quality detent, does its job, doesn't harm the paint. One thing I like of this, of these detents right here, or eye covers, is actually the little rubber pieces. It's easy to get the screw out if you need, but if you see, you're not going to lose screws while teching the gun. That makes it really simple. If you can see right here, the eyes are actually very similar to an Ego style eyes with the little wires. They just clip right into the spot, like so. And then you take it and you put it back. We'll look on the underside and show you where they plug in. It's actually two separate eye strips on these ones that plug into the board, so one for each side. I'm not sure that they'll sell them separately, but I imagine if one side goes bad, you can actually just swap that side out and keep the other one to have longer lifespan for it. With the new Vanquish 2, the regulator is actually completely serviceable. You can use that same one Allen key to take apart pretty much everything. The filter, this has a filter in there. Got a nice little O-ring on it to actually keep that sealed. You can take apart this front part of it. So there you go, that's all you really need to take it down to. There's a spring, it's an adjustment cap. You don't need to take it down farther than that. I can screw it on with one hand, yay. This little part right here is actually a bleed. So if the pressure on the marker is too high, then you can actually, it'll actually start bleeding air to protect the gun. So on the inside, you can actually bolt on the ASA right here with these two little screws. Same size screw, Allen key, clips onto it. It actually has a little ribbed area right there, so if you had to get a wrench or for some reason that got stripped. The battery sits right in here really simply. It's got a rubber pad right here, which keeps it from moving around. You see on both sides. It actually keeps it from moving around and keeps it snug in the place right there, and it clips right into the board, so you're not gonna have any problems. Very simple to change the battery, very safe and secure. Nothing really to go wrong there. Show you this real quick. We're gonna pull out the back cap. This is really simple. I'm gonna take it apart for you just because I took it apart once and there is nothing to see here. You literally have a spring, you have the push button, and you have a screw. So that is one of the most simple mechanisms for any type of back cap right there. This thing screws off, and then you have your normal shaft. You can take that apart. The O-rings right here. I'll actually take that apart for you too and show you inside. You want to make sure that you screw this down properly. If for some reason this isn't screwed in all the way, I've seen one person do it before. If it's not screwed in all the way, the bolt will stick out a little further into the breech of the gun, and it won't allow the paintball to feed, and you're gonna have problems with that. But if you look down there, there's nothing on the inside. It just bleeds to right here. And then you have the O-rings right here, which are stationary. This one's a bumper, and that one's an O-ring. You just keep those lubed. The inside right here actually holds air, so it's inside the chamber, just makes it a lower pressure. And then don't forget there is one O-ring on the inside of this gun. This one can or does need to be lubed as well. I usually lube the backup of the bolt really well to put it on there, but you need to make sure that that's lubed as well. The rest of the engine is the same as the original Vanquish, other than there's actually, if you look on this bolt tip, there's a couple little, I guess, parts where it actually sticks out farther on the bolt tip. Which this does is it actually stops it from suctioning on the ball. The original ones, the ball could actually get suctioned to the front of the bolt, causing some problems. These little ridges keep the air gap right there when it's moving forward like this, because that creates a suction. You see on my finger. But because the ball sits there, it doesn't create any friction or anything, so you're not going to deal with that problem. That's just a very simple, easy fix, but worked really well. Rest of the can is the same as the 1.0 or 1.5 core. When you lube this up, go ahead and grease the inside pretty well. I like to use monkey poo because it's a Dow 33, and it's mixed with a high quality oil, which actually makes it slicker and stay slicker longer. It has a property that actually gets onto the metal rather than comes right off. Make sure that you keep these O-rings just slightly lubed. If you look at the urethane O-rings on this, Empire did it right. The urethane O-rings aren't going to stick inside your gun, just like you may have a problem. The DM14 and 15 owners, when you pull the bolt out, sometimes it's darn near impossible to pull out, but these slide in and out with great ease. Just make sure that these are wet and coated. It keeps them from cracking. Even though they're stationary and don't have many problems. But yeah, we're gonna pull this out. We're gonna take apart the frame. You need to make sure the bolt is out when you try to take apart the frame because it hinges right here. You may forget that, so don't start jerking on it, trying to figure out what's going on. You do have to remove the bolt. My hands are sleek from using the lube, but this really nice riveted handle actually does a great job when turning the wrench. If you look inside, we're going to take apart this little prong system for you. So when you pull this out, this actually clips right into your board wire or your battery harness. So you see, that's the battery harness right there. Connects right in. This sits in place. A very simple but elegant design. You screw it down right in place. And just like that, quite simple and easy. Just to get into the trigger. Oh. And then if you'll look down in here, there's one more screw right here that you need to take off. Don't forget that one, otherwise the thing won't come out and you'll be trying to tug in at it, trying to get it off. You see, it slides right out afterwards. Get this out of the way real quickly. You can actually pull this out or set it aside. Make sure that you don't leave it in there and tug on it when you're trying to change the trigger so that you don't snap that. This is where the dowel pin sits in. See, I use the gun, but this is where the pin, so it no longer sticks on the outside. I actually like this sticking on the outside. It's kind of an eyesore on the gun, and you don't really need to get into it often. If you want to get in it, you can do that. This whole assembly drops right in. I like it because then you can also kind of tune it with it out and try to see what you're looking at. But there's the magnet right there on the top set screw. There's 4 adjustments, one right here, one there, and there. So that you can pretty much adjust anything that you like on the gun. This one right here hits the micro switch on the bottom of the gun. But let's drop that thing right inside for you again. Alrighty. Make sure those are all tightened down. Here you have your air transfer tube. The O-ring sits right on there. When I get in there, which isn't very often, but if you're going to open it up, I recommend just putting a little bit of grease right there, making sure that it's clean of debris. This is your top board. I'm actually going to take it off so I can show you how the eyes clip in. Alrighty, you want to be gentle with this because this is where they do have the solenoid, and this is the eye board. If you look right here, you got the 2 separate sides of the eyes. One's a 2-prong, one's a 4-prong, so you're not going to get them mixed up. And then you do have the solenoid, which you don't really need to take apart often. On the underside, you do have an O-ring right here for the for that transfer hole, or to seal that part of that transfer hole area done. Make sure there's no debris or anything in there. We're going to put it apart for you, or put it back together for you real quickly as well. There you go. Again, these screws don't really fall out of place, so you don't need to worry about that. You want to make sure that you screw this in before you clip the 2 parts in so you don't mesh or mess up the pins on the front. And then there you go. You slide the bolt right in. So the reason you're probably watching all this is to figure out which gun should I buy of the new high-ends out there. I want to point out a couple things that I think make the Vanquish 2 just a steal for people compared to the other high-ends. It does retail $1,500, which is about the same. The Geo 3.5 does $1,450, the LV1's $1,400, the Luxe is $1,500. One thing that stands out for me on the Vanquish is, first, you do have the full barrel kit. It's 5 pieces, a tip, and 4 barrel backs. That is a very big plus right there. The one size fits all Allen key system is just phenomenal. That makes it one of the easiest guns to work on in paintball. Empire Paintball probably has the best warranty out there. They replace everything that goes wrong with the guns, and they are very easy to deal with, their customer service. If you're looking for a very smooth marker, probably the smoothest out there, your options have always been, or options are now, you're gonna be looking at the Vanquish, you're gonna be looking at the Luxe. Those are probably the two smoothest markers. So with that barrel kit that comes out there, the very nice OLED screen that also displays the PSI, the great warranty from Empire. Those are just some things that I think makes this have more value for its buck than any of the other markers that are on the market right now. So yeah, the Vanquish 2s, they are $1,500. They're available at yourpbfriend.com. You can buy with us, or you can even trade in to get one of them. But be sure to stop by and let us know what you think.